competition time again, and here is a chance to win a brand new PS5. All you got to do is subscribe to On Track GP on YouTube.
Also follow us on Instagram at OnTrackGP. Make sure you like the competition post, it's pinned on Instagram as well.
You can win yourself this right now. What are you waiting for?
Can I enter, or can I have a go?
No.
But who takes Bottas? Where's he go? What team above Alfa Romeo takes him? Not Alpine, not Ferrari, definitely not one of the three guys above that. We'd never go back to Mercedes or anything. Where's he gonna go?
Yo people, welcome back to On Track GP. I'm joined by Sam and Joe in the building for the Canadian Grand Prix preview in Montreal. And of course, it's a high-speed circuit. We're gonna have a lot of hopefully good racing, wheel-to-wheel action. It's probably the only race where the pit straight you can go faster than obviously going into that corner. Sam, welcome to the show, bro. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, hot. It's very hot at the moment. It's a hot time.
It is.
Yeah.
The light's burning down on you right now as well. On top of that, Joe, bro, how are you?
Yeah, same. All really hot. Yeah.
Glad everyone's coming shorts today. No one's trying to play games with tracksuits and you know what I mean, jeans and whatnot.
You look very smart, mate. This is the first, dressed up, buttons on the shirt. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I'm trying to be professional now.
Yeah, I like that.
Abby's raised the bar. I've been watching some of the shows when I'm not here. I'm like, wow, I really need to start dressing up for the occasion. Let's get straight into it. Obviously, we're talking about high-speed circuit here, a couple of straights. And I was actually watching, was this the race where, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is this the race where there was a car landed on Hamilton's head? Was it this race?
No,
it wasn't this
Monza.
Monza,
okay. Yeah.
Verstappen landed on it.
Yeah, Verstappen landed. That was Monza.
Yeah, that was a wild time. I was looking back, but obviously last year Verstappen won, Sainz coming in second, Hamilton in third. Sainz thought that maybe he could bring it back after coming out for a late pit, but didn't happen in the end. Going into this race, what are your kind of over expectations going into this?
Well, it's usually quite a fun circuit, and mainly because of the weather. Like, it's known for being really wet, and like everyone talks about the 2011 race where it took like 4 hours. Jenson Button eventually won it. I think he did 6 pit stops in that single race. Just shows how mentally
24 hours in Le Mans.
Yeah, basically. So yeah, it's always a track that if it rains, it gets a bit crazy or something. And like you said, it's very quick. It's got a lot of I think it's good because it's quick, but it's also got a lot of tight chicanes, so there's a lot of slowing down. So you're not just going to have teams absolutely blasting by each other. So yeah, I think it's an exciting circuit. I think we've had a good break between now and the last race in Spain, and it's sort of a good thing to look forward to. Yeah,
obviously turn 12, 13, Wall of Champions. Yeah. Famous crashes down there and drivers, falling by the wayside. What is kind of your mood coming into this for your team?
Well, like you said, there's a lot of chat about rain. The closer we get, we're currently 48 hours away from practice one. I think if as always, if we see some rain or mechanical failures, is the other chance for teams to get up and with the Red Bull guys. Assuming that the weather stays dry, I think Red Bull will drive off, no problem. Checo has to come second. He's had a bad couple of weeks. He has to be coming second in that car. And then after that, we'll get into it a little bit. But I think there's an interesting discussion about the next 3, maybe even 4, if we include Alpine teams behind those guys. As a Ferrari fan, if I put my Ferrari hat back on, I'm very unoptimistic, very pessimistic about this weekend. I think Aston Martin and Mercedes will be a lot quicker than the Ferrari. I think it suits their cars better, and I'm genuinely worried about Alpine leapfrogging this weekend as well.
Red Bull, obviously this could be their 8th straight win of the season. Verstappen currently kind of squashing a move to Ferrari, maybe saying that they have to have the fastest car on the grid for that move to be made. And obviously Perez, like you said, is in awful form with Monaco, with Spain, and Miami, to be honest, which for me was probably the worst of the worst, just due to the expectation and obviously the end result. Can you see past a Red Bull win here?
No, not really, to be honest.
Damn it!
Yeah,
Somebody give me something.
It's even more like certain. I think Verstappen's going to win. Like he's such good form at the moment. Like, I think any other talk is sort of not really there. I think the most interesting battles are going to come behind him because, like, if we ignore Verstappen, like, it's quite an interesting grid this year. We've had
why do we have to do that every single race?
We've had like a few different podiums. Like, I know Alonso's featured a few times, but Mercedes bounced back in Spain. So yeah, I think. Just ignore P1. Like, we all know what's going to happen there. Like, unless something crazy happens, but it doesn't look like it's going to. So
yeah, we was kind of maybe told by Toto in a way that Hamilton's contract would be tied up before this Grand Prix would even happen. Has that actually happened yet? Hasn't it?
No, it hasn't. Like, it's been like the most ongoing situation of like it's been on for months really. Like Hamilton's contract with Mercedes have always been sort of like hard to come to a final agreement with. There was one season where he actually started the season as a free agent, like, or came very close to starting.
Pay as you play.
As a free agent, and finally signed a new deal. So this deal originally was supposed to like happen over the winter break. Mercedes was saying a lot of it was going to happen. Like, they were all pretty certain that's going to happen. Then come testing, like, still hasn't signed, and then come the first race, hasn't signed. And now it's June. We've had 7 races. Like, it's fairly a long way into the season, and as it stands, his deal expires in November, and he'll be gone. But yeah, Toto Wolff said this week that they could have a deal before the race this weekend. But Hamilton said they met on the Monday after Spain. Like, it's hard to know exactly what's sort of stopping it. I think.
Yeah.
Does he need to be the highest paid driver on the grid?
Maybe, but you'd think the only thing, it could be like originally we thought maybe it's to do with the car, but the car's improved a lot more, so like probably not that much to do with it anymore. So yeah, then you start to think, is it to do with money? But I mean, Hamilton's a very wealthy guy. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, I know maybe it's a point of pride that he wants to get paid more than Verstappen does, but there's also some rumours, I don't know how true these are, that he wants a bit of like ownership or a bit more like a long-standing deal after he retires. So there's obviously something. It probably will come down to money in the end, but I think it's more likely to get done. I'm still quite pessimistic it'll happen. I've obviously record this. I might go outside and he signed it, but like, I think it's still unlikely that he'll do it by Canada at least.
Yeah, I'm coming off the back of a double podium. I'm feeling quite good. I'm not gonna lie. Like, this team, they are hopefully on the ascendancy back to where they once were. It's going to take probably not even next year, but the year after, maybe, to really be right there with Red Bull for drivers. But even just competing for some wins would be nice. And is this upgrades, do you feel, that are pushing Mercedes? Is that what it is, or is it, is it driver performance? Maybe what do you think?
I think both, actually. I think that both those guys in the car seem happier and more comfortable now, particularly because the car's performing. Bringing it back to Canada, I think, assuming that Red Bull go and win the thing, I think we'll see a really interesting battle between Aston Martin and Mercedes this week, because Canada's a really cool, diverse circuit. It's got very heavy braking, but also long straights, 3 DRS zones, so there's a lot going on, and again, potentially the weather. So I really like the idea of the Mercedes being quicker in the straight line than the Aston Martin, which it is, but the Aston Martin's joker card that it's played all season has been that it's so good under heavy braking. So it'd be interesting to see at the circuit this weekend whether braking's more important or straight line speed is more important. Now, we know that Red Bull has both of those, really. But between those next 2 teams, I think we could see a really, really cool battle. And Ferrari, don't know.
The losers. This is the losers club. And I won't make any references to football, but everybody knows what that is like. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you know what it's like.
Yeah, we all do. To be honest, we all do. We all know the common.
Ipswich fan
we
over
all know
right.
the common enemy right now. But yeah, that is Red Bull in Formula One right now. And obviously, you mentioned Aston Martin. Alonso is high flying this season. Stroll. Is this an opportunity on this circuit to kind of get the elbows out, prove a point, and get himself closer to Fernando and really start to push Aston Martin up in terms of points for constructors? Because need both drivers.
It is his home Grand Prix. Like, he's maybe putting a bit of performance because of that. But I did read that his highest finish is 9th in his career at the circuit. So it's obviously not a circuit he's done well at in the past. Like, that could all change. He's obviously got the quickest car of his career currently. So yeah, I think there's been a lot more focus on Stroll in these last few weeks, just because Mercedes overtook Aston Martin in the constructors. A lot of people are saying, well, if Stroll was sort of pulling his weight, they'd be a lot further in that lead. But yeah, I think Alonso had a lot of fighting talk after Spain. Like, there was rumours he said he's going to crush Mercedes this time round. So that's an interesting battle. I think that Spain track did obviously favour Mercedes a lot, but I'm excited to see what will happen. I think they could be. I mean, we were sort of joking about our outrageous predictions. I was sort of thinking we haven't had a big crash this year, really. So I think we could maybe see Alonso and Hamilton. They've had a few knocks together last year. Alonso, a few bit not petty, but like spiky radio comments about his former teammates. So I think, I could see those two having a bit of a battle this weekend. Yeah,
it's suspected that there's going to be more upgrades coming for Aston Martin coming into this race as well. Apparently, Alonso said that Barcelona is going to be the last race he doesn't finish on the podium, which that's a very big statement to make. But this guy has been making statements all season, and he has been talking this team up a lot, and he seems to be having more fun than I've ever seen. Is there a race win on the cards this season somewhere for Alonso?
If someone's going to win a race,
because I'd love to see it.
I would have said that's mine, but actually I think Mercedes had the option, after that double podium.
And yourselves?
I don't think Ferrari will win a race all season.
Okay. prediction time. We're here.
As I was saying that out loud in my head, my heart broke a bit. Yeah. But I've got to be pragmatic about it. I think there's 3 teams that are quicker than them, and so many things would have to happen for Ferrari to win a race, unless they bring an incredible upgrade package and things change maybe over the summer break. They obviously can't do a huge amount over the summer break because it's a break, but and coming into this back third of the season, whether something changes, but at the moment it would have to be like a rainy day and 4 cars break down for Ferrari to genuinely have a shout at going and winning a race, and then assuming that the guys don't go and spin it off and bin it, or they clown it up on the pit wall. So I'm really genuinely not optimistic about Ferrari.
So I'm going to ask for your predictions on Ferrari for both drivers, because obviously Leclerc in Spain obviously had his struggles.
Yeah.
They're still hoping that SF23 is not going to come with more issues coming into this race. And Leclerc, we were speaking about on the podcast on Monday, Leclerc's obviously confirmed that he'd like to maybe take part in Le Mans for Ferrari in the future, maybe towards the end of his career, Richard was saying. Where's your head at? Because you're talking like Alpine is your big competitor this weekend. And Alpine are a nice team. They're a good team. So it's no shame. It's no shame. 2 good French drivers in there.
Honestly, this weekend I think Alpine could outscore both Ferrari drivers.
I thought you meant split. That was much further than
that. I really do.
You've said
genuinely. What were you saying about from last weekend at Spain, Barcelona? They still don't know about.
Yeah, like if anyone watched the Spain qualifying, you'd have seen that Leclerc had this. I mean, he exited in Q1, which is very rare, especially as he didn't crash. They had a mystery problem with his car, and like they couldn't find out what was wrong on the track, so they basically replaced the whole thing, and he started from the pit lane, and they were sort of very confident, so they'd find out when they've got it back to Maranello. But it's been 2 weeks. They haven't found what the cause was, so they're just saying, let's hope it doesn't happen again. Like kind of push it out there. So yeah, like that's obviously worrying. Maybe it was just a setup change that got tweaked during whatever. But yeah, that's not overly optimistic.
It's really sad. Like, and I predicted them to win the constructors within our pre-season thing, and now I'm saying I think Alpine could do a job on them.
Is it Jeremy Clarkson's beer? Is that what you think? Just like powering them? Alpine,
just say that you said they were under construction. That's what you said. You said Ferrari were under construction. You didn't say they were going to win the constructors.
We've got the technology.
We'll give it all that. Yeah.
AI. That's what he said, guys. That's what he said. Alpine obviously actually are coming quite strong in the last couple of races. Gasly obviously qualifying 4th for the Spanish Grand Prix, and obviously Ocon as well on the podium for Monaco. It is looking like as the season goes on, they're going from strength to strength, Sam. Can we expect potentially with the straight line speed that they might just, cause some problems?
Yeah, I like Alpine as a team. I think they're they're sort of like a mini Ferrari, and sometimes they'll have like team implosions quite often. Like their CEO will shout at them quite angrily, but away from that, they're quite good. Like I think their car's a lot better than it started was. I think they would be a lot higher up the grid. I think they just had some issues at the start, some freak things that happened, such as Gasly crashing into Ocon, knocking them both out when they're both running in the points at the time. But yeah, I think now they've sort of ironed that out a bit. I think they both got really good drivers, if they're not like in that upper echelon of drivers, if I can say that. I think Gasly and Ocon are both very strong, and I think now's the time to start racking up points. I mean, they're not going to be ending on the podium. They're not going to be winning races. I don't think. Like that's unrealistic. But I think they could challenge for those lower half of the points really, and sort of if you do that enough races, soon you'll easily get to P5, P4,
just
whatever.
Chip away, double pointers every week, scoring a 2 and a 3, a 3 and a 4, whatever.
I think that bottom section of the points is incredibly competitive. Like we're talking about how P1 is easily won by Red Bull, but like that bottom half where like you've got like Alpine who's sort of the favourites for it, you've got McLaren who should be better than they are, maybe will get better. You've got Haas as well, and AlphaTauri, Yuki Tsunoda sort of trying to battle for those last points. Like it seems like everyone, barring maybe Williams, and I mean Albon did well at the start, but yeah, maybe Williams and Alfa Romeo sort of had a little bit of a renaissance last few races. But yeah, I think that bottom half is really competitive, but I think Alpine will ultimately come out the strongest of it. Yeah,
going into the bottom half, McLaren, probably, for me, the biggest disappointment in the last race was Norris having such a good position to go with. And I'm not expecting him to stick with it and actually stay up there, but, just be within the fight of, overtaking and defending, and then he just basically capitulates and ends up
really
back to the back of the grid, and basically we're doing data collection once again with McLaren. But that is a sign that the speed is starting to improve with the upgrades, and it feels like, again, another team that is slowly on the ascendancy as well. I mean, only so many of them can be on the up because there is only so many spots to actually compete with. But promising signs from McLaren? Do you feel maybe
Yeah,
I don't know what they can do in this race because
Yeah.
I've already said that for quite a few teams. So
I think in sport we often use the phrase like transition period, and I think McLaren is definitely in one of those. Like you've seen the staff they're getting in, like all these names for Ferrari, they've pinched someone from Red Bull, but those guys aren't going to be there till the start of next year. So they're not really going to, well, obviously they're not going to have an impact on this year's car.
Yeah.
They're not going to have a huge impact on next year's car just because of the way, how early they start designing these things. So I think McLaren's very much a long-term project. I think they've shown that by the stuff they want to do. They've got a new wind tunnel opening this summer. Like that should really help them in their development. So I think, I can't imagine they're going to do that well this season. I think it's going to be sort of one of those seasons where you sort of take the hit and sort of prepare a lot more for next season. But I think even beyond that, I think 2025 is sort of when you can start expecting all these big names that are good people in the world of F1. I think that's when you'll start to see them actually have an impact on the McLaren car and hopefully start pushing them up the grid a bit, yeah.
Someone who's not having an impact is Christian Horner. He's recently shut down the rumour of a Red Bull powertrains and Ford partnering with McLaren for the new engine regulations in 2026, saying that they will continue to only focus on the two teams coming into the new regulations. Not really a surprise, is it? Why would you want to help McLaren when you've got AlphaTauri there to look after?
Yeah, I was talking about how McLaren was on the up, but I think they do have a real problem now in 2026. So they're going to be one of 4 teams that are customer teams, and like there's a lot of big names. Obviously, Aston Martin getting that works deal with Honda is such a huge deal for them, and then you've got Red Bull, Ferrari. They all make their own engine kinds of things. So there's a limit to how much you can do. I think as a customer team. I mean, McLaren have tried to say that they're okay being a customer team, but I think the last time a customer team won the championship was 2010 with Red Bull, and I think so. It's been a long time since. And I know Red Bull's sort of a half and half deal with Honda now, but like I think it's going to be hugely important to be at least have a works deal with a supplier come 2026, and no one's going to do that with McLaren because they've all signed on with other teams.
Yeah, it's a sticky situation because basically they're seconds, aren't they? They're basically seconds. They're almost scraps, which is crazy because McLaren are a huge team.
So historic.
Yeah, same with Williams as well. Obviously,
exactly. You've got two big names,
two huge teams
there,
just kind of just like taking little grains of rice under the door, which is kind of insane. And also McLaren, before we move on, is Lando Norris has also been named as one of the key investors in the expansion of F1 Arcade into the US, along with Zach Brown and Williams' Logan Sargent. I've actually been to the F1 Arcade in London. Have you guys been?
Yeah.
You haven't been?
No, I haven't been yet.
It is actually really good, I must say. I went there as a birthday present and I lost.
Fair enough. Did you go in the simulator?
Yeah.
You're awful.
Yeah. But I'm really good at the go-karting. But then when I sat in the simulation and I was there needing to kind of be, I don't know, it was just a different feeling. I was great with the reaction. They've got this great little reaction pad as well, where they kind of test your reactions up against the colours and whatnot, which is really good. Obviously, you see the drivers doing that as well. There's a couple other little cool games that they have that the drivers may do just to keep themselves, sharp for the off season. But yeah, when it came to the simulation,
I can make you feel better. I went to the press night and David Coulthard and Mick Hakkinen there. And Mick Hakkinen was dreadful. Like,
really?
Crashed
Really?
1,000
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, like
love go-karting, but simulation, no.
Interesting.
If a world champion's not doing great, I think
you studied. Obviously, racing games are talking about Need for Speed and on a pad, fantastic. Xbox, PlayStation, great. But sitting in that chair with everything, it just I don't know.
Overwhelming.
Yeah, overwhelming. Yeah, it's hot. Alfa Romeo, of course, team that we never talk about. Bottas continues to struggle with the car over the Spanish Grand Prix weekend and finish outside the top 10. What is going on? And is this driver kind of almost on the market potentially? I don't know how long when his contract expires, but it feels like he's almost too good to be in a team that is kind of just meh.
Who's this? Bottas.
Bottas,
yeah, they're just ticking away over, occasionally scoring a point every now and then and floating under the radar. I don't really have anything hugely to say about them. I'm not sure, I can't remember off the top of my head with his contract. But who takes Bottas? Where's he go? What team above Alfa Romeo takes him? Not Alpine, not Ferrari, definitely not one of the 3 guys above that. We'd never go back to Mercedes or anything. Where's he going to go? McLaren? No, they've got a nice pairing. Less Norris goes. I can't see him going anywhere else.
Yeah. It just feels like he's too talented to be there.
Yeah, I think I said transition phase for McLaren. I think Alfa Romeo are also literally in a transition phase where there'll be Sauber next year and then there'll be Audi from 2026. So I think they're all sort of
biding their time.
Yeah, maybe. Just trying to sort of not do too. Well, I mean, obviously they want to win and do better than they are, but I think that there's just such a huge focus on that 2026 season coming. Like, I think that's sort of taking a lot of their attention, really.
Yeah, understandably so. Sonoda extremely frustrated as well after we handed a 5-second penalty in the Spanish Grand Prix as well. I mean, this guy, it feels like it's just always on the cusp.
I love him, man.
I love him.
I think
he's
really
always
great.
on the cusp of points, or he's literally just missed out. Maybe unfortunate at times, but still. It feels like I say this every week, but still very impressive so far from
he's out driving that car big time. And you know, he could have been quite a high scorer if one or two things go a different way. You know, an unnecessary penalty was one of the chances to maybe even get him 2 points, I think, in that race. So I think, I feel like he's doing a really brilliant job in that car.
I feel that penalty was harsh as well. I know it's been 2 weeks, but I think
100%.
it was a very harsh decision.
What was the reasoning for that?
They were claimed that he pushed Joe off the track, and I think he had the corner. I mean,
it was like they weren't even. They were probably this far apart. The cars. There was a good 6 inches between the tires.
They didn't say anything when the two Alpines smashed into each other.
Yeah, I mean that's probably like you ruined both your races. You're fine.
I agree. I think he had the corner. I think it was fine, and I think
And how many P11s has he got this year? I think 3 or 4 already. Like he's like you said. I think it's similar to Alonso at Aston Martin. Really, that he's obviously out driving that car, and Tsunoda's clearly out driving the AlphaTauri. So it's hard to know exactly how quick that car actually is.
Yeah, and also with Haas as well, Gunter shooting down potential move to Ferrari. He wouldn't be going there as a team principal, would he?
He could do.
I'd love to see
There's no way he rejects that.
Mate, get me Gunther Steiner as the team principal of Ferrari. Make it happen right now.
Is that because you believe in his ability to take you to the top, or is that because you want the entertainment for the Netflix
memes.
series?
I want the memes, but I want the vibes. But I also think there's got to be an element of if you're being led by somebody, take away for a second the ability to lead the team, but just morale, I think, is so important in an F1 team. And Fred Vasseur, I don't really know, to be completely honest, a huge amount about him. He's obviously very capable and came from Alfa Romeo, didn't he? Mm-hmm. And is doing okay, fine. But Ferrari doesn't seem like a happy place. They're red. Ferrari's you think of a Formula 1 car, you think of a red Ferrari.
Red with anger.
Mate, I was coming to this today and I'm just all right, here we go again. But bring a bit of fun back, bring the vibes back, give me some fun.
Are you on watch along?
I'd say again.
Are you on the watch along on Sunday?
Yeah, I'll be there crying. Yeah, don't worry. Tears will be streaming. Don't worry about it. We'll see you Sunday.
No, I agree with you because it does feel like out of all the teams, there's a little bit of optimism, quite a lot of optimism maybe at Mercedes. Red Bull are flying. Aston Martin have definitely always got a smile on their face at the moment with their massive improvements. Alpine are improving, McLaren are improving, and there's just Ferrari that are just on this whimper, on this downer. And
if we're going to lose with fun, lose with some vibes.
What about you? Do you think this is something that can take place? It feels a bit out of nowhere for me.
I personally think so.
Can't see it happening.
I'd have to disagree with the morale. If looking at Haas last year, it seemed like Steiner was on a bit of a mission to make Schumacher as uncomfortable as possible.
You're so
really,
right, actually.
He's not overly great with drivers. He's had a few falling outs in the past. I mean, you're not hearing of Christian Horner shouting at his own drivers in the same way that Steiner often has done. And I think the challenges of managing a team like Haas, I think Gunther Steiner does a really good job of managing Haas. It's such a different challenge to managing that Ferrari. He's sort of playing this sort of trying to keep us alive role. Not so much this year because they've got a nice new title sponsor, but in the past he's been the one that's scraping around trying to find deals. We've all seen that picture of him with the boat. You're not going to get a Ferrari, Ferrari man posing with an Audi boat of what it was. I think the challenges of doing those two jobs are just very different. I can't imagine Steiner would do.
He's the Sam Allardyce of Formula One.
Yeah, in a nice way. I think he's good at those. I think he's just so good at that Haas job because it's so unique. He's been there since the start and he sort of knows what he's doing really. I think to move him to another team, I don't know how much success he'd really have, especially at someone like Ferrari where you have to be the very top of the top to even survive in that environment.
Yeah, literally a lot more pressure.
I know it would be the wrong decision, but
you still want it anyway.
It would be funny. Yeah. I would have a laugh for 1 week and then I'd be like, no, God! He does not fuck smash my door.
Ending on Williams as well. I mean, Sargent, I'm thinking the rookies this weekend on this type of track maybe could be a bit sketchy. I'm interested to see how Piastri does. Interested to see obviously how De Vries does, but also Sargent as well. I don't think they get to race on this track too often. When I was speaking to Richard about this on Monday, so could be a struggle for maybe a Sargent and a Williams. I don't really see much.
I mean, I've got very little to say about Logan Sargent because he hasn't really done anything to write home. But he had one good qualifying session, but he went outside of the lines. You know, nearly would have made it to Q1 or whatever. But apart from that, there's nothing really to say a huge amount about. Same with Albon, had a stronger start to the season, but they've just sort of tailed away. It's so difficult to defend Williams in any way. Even looking at that picture a couple of weeks ago from the bottom of the car, their floor, which is just like flatter than the carpet. And you look at the Red Bull one, and there's all the intricacies and making all the little things. And just obviously they haven't got the budget to spend that the other guys do, but Williams just seems like a sad story, really.
I think they've just been outdeveloped, really. Like they started vaguely quick and for what a Williams car usually does, but the other teams have just massively leapfrogged them, and now they're really struggling. I think already there's talk they're going to focus on next year. I mean, they're not thrown away this year, obviously, because it's way too early to do that. But I think it's going to take a while for James Vowles to have like a real impact. He only joined over the winter break. Like obviously the car was like pretty much done by that point. Like he's not going to have a huge impact. But I think his kind of influence will be felt more across the next few years. And like it's not going to be an instant fix. It's not going back to the football analogy. It's not like a football manager where he comes in, gets a bounce and does well. Like it's really hard to do that in F1 because like so many bits and pieces have already happened before you get there. And like I think it's going to be a few years before we sort of see the James Vowles effect.
Is Toto Wolff going to do anything about this? Is he going to help them?
No, I mean,
his own problems.
As long as they keep buying the engines, like, he's absolutely fine. Cheers.
Let's get to the predictions because you said you were going to throw some wild ones at me. I am intrigued to hear what you're going with. Top 3 we'll start with.
Boring out the way, Red Bull 1-2, Max Checo.
Oh, really? Checo as well?
Yeah, he has to. He has to,
but will he? Because he has been struggling for a while now.
He will.
He will.
I think. I think the straight line speed of the Ferrari will be... the straight line speed of the Mercedes, I wish Ferrari, straight line speed of the Mercedes is going to be more impactful than the braking of the Aston Martin. I think Lewis will come in at 3rd. And then Alonso 4, George 5, Stroll 6.
And the surprise of the weekend in terms of someone...
Alpine to, as a constructor, outscore Ferrari as a constructor.
Both cars ahead of the... Wow.
Both. Well, but the combined points of the two cars will be higher than the combined 2 points of the Ferrari.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot.
Bold. I'm going to stick with my bold prediction that I reckon Hamilton and Alonso might come together. So I'm going to say they're both DNF. That's the bold one. So I'm going to go, now left me about Podium. Max top, obviously. I think I agree that Sergio is going to finish 2nd. And I'm going to put Russell 3rd.
Russell in 3rd.
Yeah, I think he'll be on there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Go on.
I'm going to go Max to win. I'm not going to give Checo the 2nd. Because I think Checo is going to be potentially very, very elbows out, and that might lead to a crash.
Too much.
Yeah, and that might lead to a crash or collision. And I'm trying to think who I don't mind him colliding with.
I don't mind.
Wow.
I fancy.
Got to keep Hamilton out the way. He's going to finish 2nd. Try and steer George out. Nah, it's going to be George. I think George and Sergio to crash.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
And Alonso to take 3rd.
Okay.
I think there's got to be a crash.
Who was your 2nd?
We didn't get so Hamilton and then Alonso 3rd.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
We haven't had a safety car or
it's
any.
Been very quiet.
It's been very quiet.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like now it's like in this circuit we're gonna get something. That's what
maybe the wet.
Yeah, exactly, and the weather conditions as well. So yeah, I'm gonna run with that. Guys, let us know your predictions in the comments. Make sure you like, subscribe. As always, where's the PS5? What's going on? Did someone take it? Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Pick up your down cells. Make sure that you, like I said, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys next time. In a bit, people. Peace.
Competition time again, and here is a chance to win a brand new PS5. All you got to do is subscribe to On Track GP on YouTube.
Also follow us on Instagram at OnTrackGP.
Make sure you like the competition post. It's pinned on Instagram as well.
You can win yourself this right now. What are you waiting for?
Can I enter? Or can I have a go?
No.